welcome to stream. This is Jacob and I just giving it a shot, trying to get some questions and answers going. We just put out a pretty big new update to the platform. That's been pretty exciting. Also, I think Jacob was actually going to kind of just go through some of his studies. See if how do we put that on the stream here? I think Ty might have to click watch stream.
Yeah, I think he has to show interest in my.
Yeah, so Jacob's gonna go through some studies. We're gonna chat. I'm gonna ask him some questions. He's gonna ask me some questions, and we're gonna be looking at the stream chat, and we're gonna answer some of your questions as well. Field any like technical questions about the platform, about our technology. We do have Mr. CTO here. If you have questions about the platform and the teaching method, things of that nature, go ahead and you can direct those towards me. Anyway, I've actually never seen you use the platform, Jacob, and it always breaks every time you use it. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. Let's see.
There's something that always happens with me where anytime I develop anything new, I'll share it with like Caleb or someone, and I'm like, "Watch this," and then it always backfires. So this should be pretty good.
It always breaks. Okay, I just got chat open as well on stream, so if anyone says anything, I'll be able to see you guys. So, hello. Hey Josh. How's it going? Question: are you sponsored by the DX Racer chair you're both using? No sponsor by DX Racer chair. I'm a gamer, and you know that's where I come from. So that's what I have.
Now, if anyone knows DX Racer,
wait, do you also have a DX Racer chair, Jacob?
I do, yeah.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to say.
I see. So earlier, Sparkling Ramy said, "I'm on chapter 4, phase 1. I've already learned so much that I haven't seen elsewhere. Thank you for this program, teaching myself, so it takes a lot of stress off." We're happy to hear that. Thanks.
Yeah.
For the words.
Thanks for those kind words. Really glad to hear that you feel it takes the stress off. That's one of the main motivations behind NativShark is, build a platform that takes the stress out of learning. So that's great to hear. All right. Where are we at here? Oh yeah, so here's a good thing. Here's the new oh, you just went past that. I was gonna point out the I was gonna point out the new deal.
Yeah, it's there now.
Hey. Yeah, so we just put in these emoji based responses for the flashcards with the see again today, see again soon, see again in a while. Yeah, at first I wasn't sure how I felt about the emojis as well. I was like, are we really gonna do this? Is this just a meme? Are we actually gonna make our answers emoji? But you know, during the design, it was like, you know what, this actually looks nice. It feels really simple. And then in testing, it felt really good. Once you get used to it, it just feels like the reviews go so much smoother, which the community response has been pretty much the same. At first, people were like, wait, there's emojis now? And then being like 2 days later, wait, these are really good. This is nice. So yeah, we say here in the chat. Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I'm used to it now. It just feels like, oh, this is how I felt about it. You know, smile face, meh face. One of the biggest things we wanted to do is people as in myself included, right? It's like we often as students would want to hit I forgot way more than we need to, because we always are afraid of cheating ourselves basically and thinking, well, I don't know if I really knew it, so I better go on the area that side I didn't know it, which is a bit counterintuitive to both learning and the way that like our SRS works. And so one of the ways that we wanted to kind of help with that by like system design was by literally making it a cry face. And it's like you're less inclined to hit the cry face because you don't want to have the cry face emoji. So it's kind of like I don't know, subconsciously, subliminally guiding you towards the better options, which is the smile or the slight, like the meh face. So hitting those two options more than the sob face is actually the better way to do it. It'll help you with your studies, help your recall, all these kinds of things. So now basically what we've been seeing already is that's the result, right? People are hitting it less, which is great. Hopefully that'll lead to people's reviews piling up a lot less, because That's no fun. We don't we don't need 100 or so reviews. That's the system not working quite right. And it's our, one of the things we're working on helping
うー
students,
ん、あと5分く
be
ら
able
い。
to reduce that number.
うー
So
ん、あと
yeah,
5
that's
分く
some
ら
of
い。
the thought process behind why we brought in the emojis and the three options. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm gonna check out chat for a sec, Lo.
On that note, kind of like one of the underlying things that you'll see in everything we do at NativShark is we want to make the learning process simpler. And so by switching to just an emotion-based response, it also removes the mental burden of like you trying to figure out, was this difficult? Was this hard? Was this really easy? Right? Like,
Right.
it's just
It-
another like burden off your mind. that-
Right. Like there's no need to think that much about it. It should really be like almost less than a second response to the card. Like boom, I know which one to click. Rather than just like, well, did I? And that was happening a lot with the 4 question options. Like even myself, I was doing it and I was like, this isn't good.
静かに歩いて。
4 is much quicker, and now there's no words to think about, so it's even faster. On the note, I see some people talking about the sob face.
ちょっと待って、洗濯終わってない。
So the sob face is sort of something where you should only
あー、
really
忘れてた。
click it when you have absolutely no idea. Like
あと何分
you look at the card and you feel like you've never seen it before in your life. That's a sob face. If you look at the card and you're like, I know
大き
the
くなったね。
idea of this, or I know part of this card,
マジ
or let's say
や
you
ばい。
only know the target part of the card, but you don't know the rest of the sentence.
俺のノート
That's
忘れない
fine.
でね。
You can click slight face, like you can click the slight smile on that. Like if you knew the target but not the whole word, you can still click smiley face. If you kind of feel like you knew the gist of it but you weren't really sure, then I would click meh on that one. But I wouldn't go with the sob face. Sob face is like
何してたの？なん
I
か
have
電話
no
して。
idea what happened here. If you do answer like that, one, you'll go quicker, and two, I think you'll notice that your recall improves over time. Initially, it might feel a little bit scary, like in the short term, be like, "Oh man, am I really remembering things?" But it's about we say this a lot, but it's about the long term, right? NativShark and well, studying in general, it's always about the long term, and that's one of the things that we've really tried to talk about a lot on the platform, and we'll continue to make more apparent in the platform that it really is about the long term. It's not about 5 minutes every single day is all you need to learn a language. It's about consistent time as much as you can over a long period of time. That's what will get you to the proficiency goals that you want. Whether it takes you 10 minutes to do your studies or it takes you an hour to do your studies, as long as they happen every single day and you're progressing, that's what matters.
Yeah. Nimtov says, so if I learn new kanji today, I'll get them again in 2 days, right? So I get the vocab to them before having had a second look at them. That's at least how it was before. I kind of think I'd prefer to learn kanji and the reading in context. So on that note, you should be seeing the new cards the new cards you see today, you should see during your study day tomorrow. If you're not, then I have to fix that.
That's a bug. Yes. That's
We
correct.
added, and I can show it when I get there today, but there's an information circle now that you can click on when you're learning the kanji that shows examples of that kanji being used, so you can see sentence and vocab that use it.
Yep.
But I think like with the info circle, you can get exposed to that, but it's not as important as I think a lot of people make it out to be, because you will just pick that up naturally by going through like the content we have. You'll see the kanji in a lot of different situations and just naturally pick up the reading that way.
Right. Just as a note, every single kanji that you learn as a kanji card with the kanji and its English representation, all of those kanjis will show up in
ごめん、寝てた。
the lesson or a vocab flashcard within about 5 or so units around when you saw it. So you're never shown a kanji like that's not used somewhere else on the platform. All of the content refers to itself, essentially. And we're going to be, continually improving that as well with the way that the content itself is structured. When we have Nico on the stream, probably next week, we can talk a little bit more
じゃあ
about
車で待ってるね。
what we're kind of doing with the content side of things and how we're also improving the content itself to make it easier to recall, easier to learn, and structured in a
どこが分かんなかった？
in an improved way. So yeah, we can talk about that kind of next week. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. But rest assured that it does, even now, it does show up always. It's everything is self-referral, self-referring.
Yeah. And would you listen
is.
to like? Oh, go ahead.
So I just saw Rainy Whiff say, "Tell him happy birthday." Yeah, it's Nico's birthday today, so happy birthday to Nico.
Yeah. So you asked if there will eventually be a developer API for querying user progress. It's something we've thought about. We don't have any immediate plans to add it. But once we get the system to a place where it makes sense, then we will release that information. We're not opposed to it.
Right. We also kind of want like the Discord bot to be able to pull some of this information, so that when you're in our Discord community, you can do run bot commands on your account and kind of share your stuff easier. We also would like to have some, integrations with other socials, so you can share your progress, share your status, share your badges, these kinds of things. So building those features would basically be the groundwork to what becomes the public API, should we make a public API. But we haven't done that stage yet, that layer yet, so that's like, there's 2 steps from where we are now to there being a public API. All right.
Are you going to start doing continuous delivery, releasing every code change you make on the same day? We already do have continuous delivery, so patch notes will be posted a bit later today, but all of the updates that are going to be out today are already out. The bigger feature things that we do, and like this update that took so long to come out, was kind of a rewrite of everything from the ground up. So that's why it took a long time to come out. And on our like testing server that our testers have access to, they get updates frequently. It gets changed every day, but we turn testing on and off when we want people to come in and use it.
For sure. Let's see. I'm gonna scroll back through chat a bit while you carry on a bit more with your studies. Let's see. We have. Let's see. Nimtov says the emojis are basically the 4 buttons from before without the 4th one. Essentially, yeah. The 1, 2, 3. The 1 is still the 1. 2 became 3 and 3 became 4. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Or 4 became 3. Let's see. Cryphos is the fields, indeed. I forgot way too much apparently. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that hopefully the emojis are helping with, and then like I was saying before, definitely, don't worry too much about hitting I forgot. Let's see. I like it better too. The way presented makes it less discouraging. I agree. How much of an improvement was the batched requests? I'm not sure what that is referring to actually.
What was that? I didn't see that one.
How much of an improvement was the batch request? Is that with the way that the site is now? That's the way that the site is. Yeah.
Network request.
The network requests, right?
Yeah. So to put like an example on the dashboard, before there's various components, right? Like you have the nav bar that wants to know the user. You have the stats that needs to know the user. It needs to get the stats from various places. You have your progress versus like your progress bar through, the current phase. So there's a lot of data. And before this update, every piece was making its own request. So like you would go to the page and have like 50 requests that went out to get data. And now what happens is all of those are batched together. So even if we have like 1,000 things on the page that all want to know the current user, it's just going to make the request for the current user once. And then once it gets that data back, it then tells everything that cares about it. So from a network perspective, and I guess general bandwidth and everything, it's a lot more efficient. Nim, you mentioned the new system kind of hit me without being explained. Would you consider to put in a page that explains it? We have a few plans. So like if you mean the latest update, we have an update letter going out at the end of this month or really early next month that'll explain the changes and why we made them. And then we kind of plan to keep that in mind for any like big changes that we make going forward, that we will explain kind of the reasoning behind it and why, or if it changes too much, how to use the new system. But what you see and what you use is pretty much going to be like, or like the way you use it will be this, if that makes
For sure.
Any idea if and when there will be a way to identify and review at-risk cards between study sessions? Yes. Do we want to talk about our immediate plans for that?
What was the question? I was still reading the one about the changes all being kind of sudden. I want to say another thing about that too. Is,
Yeah, go ahead.
So on the platform itself, I want to add in, like I was talking to Jake about this and the team. I think it would be nice if we had a way that in the platform itself, when the kind of substantial update comes out, it like, hey, this is what's new. Here's like, you get like a notification basically that gives you a little quick walkthrough and to a refresher to say, oh, this is what changed. This is the way it used to be. This is how it's going to be. Here's why we did it. Kind of like a nice little package of information on when it's a substantial change like what we just did. When it's iterative, it not, patch notes are fine, but when it's something big like, okay, the flashcard UI completely changed, and or like when we adjust the algorithm in a major way, that kind of a thing. I think that should definitely be a so yeah, we don't have that right now, but I would really like to get that in at some point, so we would definitely do that. Yeah, okay, that's what that Nimtop says. That's what he's looking for sure. So yeah, we'll do it. Though I'll write a little bit in the monthly update that's coming out today or tomorrow, so there's that. But yeah, I agree with you. Did we get this question from Amnistar? Any idea if when there will be a way to identify and review at-risk cards before? Okay, yeah, certainly the answer to that question is yes.
I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit about our immediate plans for that. We hope to
Okay,
have out
sure.
in like a month or so. Within a month?
So long term, we have a lot of stuff planned for that, of course. But in general, one of the strategy, I don't know if it's necessarily a strategy change or if it's like a strategy, I don't know, improvement is rather than holding on to a certain feature set or a certain chain, like update or improvement for a while until we can get, how do you say, the whole package put together, that we really like the full version of what we want put together, and hold off until that. We're instead going to do like little pieces of what we can that get us in the overall direction. So instead of like leaving it in one state for like months and months, and then, okay, now all the changes happen at once, we want to do like over time, we're steering it in a specific direction. So one of those things is the review tools and at risk, like what cards am I at risk at, that kind of thing. What information am I going to forget? So in the short term, within like the next month or so, we're looking at getting it so that cards that have been like that you've clicked the sob face on multiple times, those are basically stored in a list that you can see and review on your own in your archive. You can see, oh, these are cards that I'm having trouble with. We're also thinking about or working towards getting an auto-generated shadow looping set based upon the way that you answered your cards in a given day. So like however you did on your reviews, when you finish your reviews for the day, based on how you did in those reviews, an auto-generated review shadow loop custom album will exist for that day that you can do and get extra credit for doing. Additionally, we want to bring in some more tools for you to create custom shadow loops based upon your current content. Like right now, you can see the shadow loop content of lessons that you've just done. We just put in this update that we just put out. Now the shadow loops only show you loops for content that you've done. So it's not like it's a massive list of 3,000 sentences. It's now just the ones that you've done. But the next step from that is you being able to sort it and view it and create, custom loops, album loops based on parameters of your studies, so that you can use audio looping as your like extra review session, stuff like that. If that makes sense. That's the gist of it. I don't know if you had any more thoughts on it, but I
Um,
guess
yeah, I think that generally covers it. I know
yeah.
there's other things in the archive too. So
Oh, like
the
bookmarks.
right, and like
The ability to bookmark. We
the
need that.
brains that you click on, so like at the
Oh
bottom
yeah,
of this
right.
lesson.
Yeah, be able to sort by the brains finally, so you can
That'll
see.
make more sense for you.
Yeah.
So the archive will be pretty nice for kind of just staying on top of what you've done and seeing where you're struggling and having the system surface those to you without you having to do any work.
Yeah.
Cool. Josh 602. What's the very next feature on the roadmap?
Very next feature on the roadmap?
Feature?
As spoilers. I don't know if I can answer that.
I can say, I guess, one thing. I'll say a feature, then I'll say like an improvement.
All right. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's hear it. I want to hear how you would put it.
Okay. So the next feature is a referral system of some kind.
True.
And then the next improvement is around extra credit and how you can track that to where you can put in, like, enter your extra credit sessions after the fact or edit ones that you've done before. Yeah. So.
Yeah. There we go. Those are good answers, and it's not super spoilery. It's good. But yeah, big improvement there for sure. With that, and also referral system. That's something that we've been wanting to have for a while. There's been a couple of requests for it in Canny that we've seen. So yeah, we want to get that in kind of before the holidays for everyone, so that it's a bit nicer and a bit easier to share NativShark with people for the holiday season. What else?
Right.
What other improvements? I feel like we have maybe another improvement we can share. What else we have coming up? Let's see.
I could pull it up. Well, I guess one other thing with extra credit is the ability to like start your timer on your computer.
Right, there we go.
You can like open it up on your phone and it'll know that that timer is still going.
Right, you'll be able to switch. When you start a extra credit tracking session, you can move between devices and it will keep tracking. Oh, another one, 3-year pace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the 3-year pace is coming. That's another feature improvement. Yeah, that's some of the stuff that's coming up immediately. One like we were just talking about, one of the bigger ones that we're working on that's going to take some time is the review, auto-generated reviews with shadow loops, and improving the review at risk section. Is there anything in the works to view all the badges I've gotten on a single screen so I can gloat to all my friends on Facebook? Yeah, for sure. Man, we should get that one out soon, shouldn't we? Yeah, we really want to do that. We also want it to be so that when you get a new badge, there's like a one-click share button, so you can share it to socials when you get it as well, really easily, with like a little message that's generated and you can type, that kind of a thing. Because right now you got to like screenshot and it's a hassle, no fun. Yeah. So yeah, we want to make that a more fun, enjoyable experience. So you can share to like Discord, you can share to Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Definitely. Let's see. I'm gonna read some of these questions. Oh, that's I'm seeing on your stream the new flashcards wherein you can see the mnemonic piece. Yep, look, there it is. By the way, that was actually supposed to always have been there. We did not intend to launch without that being in, but it didn't make the launch, and then we just regretted it for the past 2 months until it finally existed. So sorry about that. It happens, but there you go. Another one is right now these new cards just say got it, and there's no. A lot of people have asked about this. They're like, wait, what happened to being able to see the second time? And some people are like, oh, it's awesome. I only see the new card once, and it's so much faster. Which we did kind of want to test that. We wanted to see what people would think it was just seen once, but we never fully intended on it being this way forever. So I think next week we'll get that. Maybe it's the week after. I'm not totally sure. I don't have the roadmap pulled up, but soon it'll get back to where it'll still be this learning card view. It's not going to become a flashcard like a review flashcard, but it'll have more than just got it. Basically, we're gonna make it feel and function a bit more like the way the Kana tool teaches you new content, because we really like that system, the way that the Kana teaching tool works, and that one's also got really good feedback. So we want to take the learning new kanji, the learning new vocabulary, learning new grammar, and move them in that direction, to make a nice learning experience that's very similar to the way that you learn Kana. And then secondarily, there's review cards that come the following day, as normal, and then it hits the review cycle and the review flashcards. But when you see them the first time like this, you should think of them as the learning period rather than a flashcard period. And right now, with just the one card, the one button, it kind of does that, but we can make it better, and we actually have something in the pipeline to improve that. So yeah.
One thing to point out today, this update went out, but elements are listed here now, so you don't just have to read the mnemonic to see them. And then, like we mentioned before, the information circle that has the examples, like sentences and vocab, is also there.
Right.
And then Nimtov just said, some people pointed out that it would be nicer if the kanji radicals would also be clickable in the elements block, not just the mnemonic. We are aware of that, and it's on like the list of
it is on list of like minor improvements. We'll get that out eventually for sure. Yeah, agreed.
All right.
I'm gonna
back.
Scroll up. I saw this question from Zephyr Dawn that I wanted to read.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you talk about any plans in the works for review systems beyond just flashcards? I see you talk about how flashcards aren't an ideal review system in the past, and that you had plans for bigger systems. So we kind of did talk about that actually after that question, since I was from a bit ago. But I'll just say to Zephyr real quick. Yeah. So flashcards, we can think of flashcards as sort of a quick, how do we put it? It's like a collection of information that your brain is currently working on putting into like long-term storage, more or less. Because flashcards aren't inherently fantastic review tools, and they're definitely not good learning tools. So I think recall is the word that I'm looking for here. I think we can think of flashcards as like a recall tool, but they should always be like a small amount of them. You don't need thousands of review cards, because then you're overwhelming yourself. Not saying that you can't learn that way. You definitely can. We come from that with NihongoShark, right? We were very flashcard dependent with NihongoShark back in the day, and my own studies were done a lot of it in that way, where you'd have thousands of flashcards. But it's really not ideal, especially for you have to be a very specific kind of person to have the motivation to be able to do it, and I'm just not, honestly. Like I couldn't, like someone who can really do that is like Ty, for example. He can go hard on flashcards. Some people can, some people can't. But the good thing is, whether you can or whether you cannot go on hardcore on flashcards, it doesn't matter, because you don't need to in order to reach high proficiency in the language. So we should think about flashcards as sort of like an ephemeral state. It's like this. It's almost like, in a way, it's like RAM. That's not quite RAM, because it's a bit longer than that. But it's kind of the idea of like, it's not long-term storage for things, and it's not like immediate, because that's the learning experience. It's like this interim where it's going from learning to long-term in your brain, like the archive, right? And if it's holding in there for too long, then something's wrong. The system's not working. So, okay, that's what flashcards are. Now, for other review tools, like I was just mentioning with the shadow looping, right? So based on the way that your studies go for the day, having like a custom auto-generated shadow looping album, something that drills some audio for you, like that kind of practice, that's beneficial. It's because it's relevant to what's happening now, and it's something that you can kind of put on, and while you're also doing something else, you can have it playing. Other review tools are things like different types of quizzes that test you on like, how do I put it? test you on knowledge that you've either just learned, or like it can resurface a question that you would have seen like 3 weeks ago. So it's like, hey, you learned this 3 weeks ago, and I'm going to ask you this question. Do you actually know it? That's like a review process, right? Do you know, yes or no? And if you don't, then it's like, here's what you can learn. You can go review it. You can go refresh on this topic, and then we'll ask you this question again in the future, and then we'll see how you do. And that kind of like iterative, like one step up, um, with the I+1 system, which we've working on a new system, which is called C, or contextual iterative. What is it again? I just totally forgot.
It is.
I use I use the acronym all the time. I forgot the name. Contextually iterative. Huh.
Hold on, I got it.
The brain do be
Immersion.
like that. Immersion. There you go. Okay, so instead of a straight I+1 system, we're moving towards contextually iterative immersion system, right? And that's kind of what I was just describing, where it resurfaces. It's only information, like only one piece of new information at a time, but it's also taking into account the context of where the information is being taught. That's also part of the immersion, and then it resurfaces questions to you over time. So that's kind of like where we're going for review tools that are not flashcards. Essentially, flashcards in the future with NativShark are going to be something that takes you hardly any time in your review day, in your study day. It'll be very quick. It'll be just this nice recall exercise that you do, and boom, done. So there you go. Long answer, but we're getting there for sure. There was a lot of chat happening while I was talking though, so I'm gonna
Yeah, so I'll pop
scroll
in
back a
and
bit.
say, Final Boss, hello. I rejoined a bit ago, but
welcome to stream.
Gasho, not sure how to say your name, but you mentioned or asked, is the update going to allow you to bring out content at a faster rate, or is that some other process still going on in the background? That is mostly a process happening in the background, and Nico can talk more about that next week. I think it's next week when he's coming on.
For sure.
And yeah, he's been working really, really hard on like the content pipeline and everything. So please look forward to that. I can't really give an answer on it.
Yeah, content pipeline is a challenge, definitely. There's a lot of variables on it as to why, but we'll talk more about them next week. So, come tune in again next week and ask the question again. We'll answer in more detail then.
Nimtov, how will the extra credit show? Will I be able to see my goals and their completion on the My Journey page? Yes. So you were able to see that before this update, and then I broke it. But now
nice
it's
job.
fixed. I don't have extra credit enabled, so you can't see it, but in your list of all your units, extra credit's an option here, and then you can click on that and you get this view with the circles to work towards your extra credit. So it shows up on your dashboard now. Did not show up earlier.
Good. Nice job breaking it and fixing it.
Yeah.
We have a question here. Will you bring back these nice before unit messages from one of the team discussing something about learning Japanese on a more personal note, like an early phase 1? Those were quite motivating to read. Those should be there. Is something not working with the lesson cards?
No, they're there, but they reduce in frequency, get further in your studies.
Gotcha.
So I think that's mostly it. But
I see.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll write that note down and let the content team know that maybe we should have a few more. But they still exist, and we definitely will keep making them for sure. Yeah. Maybe we should investigate the frequency though, for sure.
Josh asked a good question that I've seen a lot in our community, which is I've only just started using shadow loops. How do you get the most out of them? Do I just put them on in the background, or do I have to pay attention to them? So for me, there's a couple different ways you can use them, kind of like a passive and active way. Passively, you could just put them on in the background to kind of get your brain used to hearing Japanese. And so that's how I know some people will do it. They'll put them on like when they're commuting somewhere, or like you're in the grocery store looking for stuff, right? You just have this audio playing in your ears. And then there's the active way to do it, which is what I did a lot before I went to Japan last year, to work on my pronunciation, where I'll play the shadow loop in one ear through like headphones, and then I'll be listening to my microphone. That might have made a lot of noise. Listening to my microphone like in my ears with no delay. And so I'm trying to repeat like the shadow loop at the exact same time, and then adjusting so that I sound like the thing I'm listening to. And I think that's probably the best way to work on your pronunciation, is kind of trying to repeat with the shadow loop at the same time. Yeah. I
So
don't know if you have more to add.
the short answer is both. You can both put them on passively in the background and just have Japanese playing on repeat in your ears, or you can kind of focus in and listen closely, and try to understand what's being said. And then kind of also what Jacob said is one of the best ways to use them, I think, in an active way, is to like speak along with it and try to get the speed, try to get the pitch flow. And it doesn't necessarily matter if you don't perfectly understand the sentence. Being able to speak it at a nice speed helps with understanding it, actually. There's a correlation between practicing speaking and listening to repeated audio, actually, with comprehension and overall language ability.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely do that. Let's see, do we have any more questions? Shadow loops also for helping you recall. Shadow loops also for helping you recall words when you hear them, because with flashcards, I'm only training myself how to remember words. Yep, they can also help with that for sure. They do help with recall. With flashcards and training yourself to remember when reading them, if you want to train your flashcards, use flashcards a little bit to train the recall on hearing. You can do the old close your eyes. I've done that a lot. You just close your eyes and do your flashcards. Easy hack.
Yeah, because then you just hear the audio.
Yeah, then you just hear the audio. But yeah, I would actually probably recommend using the shadow loops instead, and they'll become way more relevant when they're linked to the review flashcard system. So you don't have to like search through. For now, you'd have to search through and create a custom shadow loop album, etc. But yeah, we'll get there. I think we got caught up on questions.
Yeah, Amnistar coming in with anything in the works for English to Japanese flashcards or quizzing. I don't know Caleb's. I think I know Caleb's answer, but I'm gonna say no. Because it's not as useful, I don't think, as a lot of people make it out to be. Especially given that you can have a word in English, and one like that word can mean a lot of things in English. Like you have produce, you have produce, right? So you have a word that has many meanings in English, but that one word can be like 60 words in Japanese, right? So, oh god,
This question is, I don't know, it's one of my favorite ones because it's such a juicy question where it's like you think like intuitively you think this is a great idea and I should definitely do this, and you can see it recommended on the internet for learning Japanese all over the place. Everyone's like, get those English to Japanese flashcards. It seems to make sense and you want to believe it, but it's like it's fake news. It doesn't actually help you at all, really, and because like one of the reasons is like what Jacob was saying, wherein okay, so word X English word might mean 65 different things in Japanese. Which one am I gonna study? If I'm studying this one, am I gonna forget the other one? Like, and not only that, but it trains your context in the wrong direction, and also, it's almost like what you're kind of trying to do is train for translation rather than like fluency and being able to use the language, which they're two different things. Being highly proficient in a second language is different than being able to translate well in a second language. This is another thing that's like kind of like a meme. Like people be like, oh, I can speak a language, and then someone will give you a sentence, be like, hey, what does this mean? And it's like, well, these are two different things. Like being able to proficiently use a language at a high level, as under like an adult speaker basically level of a second language, is different from being able to translate really well at those two languages. For example, I have several like bilingual friends that grew up bilingual, so they grew up speaking two languages because their household situation, and they can't translate hardly at all. Like they're bad at translating, but they're perfectly adult level, like collegiate level understanding of both languages. It's just that when you try to have them translate, they're like, no, there's no difference in my mind between the two languages. What do you mean translate? So that can happen. But yeah, so they're two different things. Training to translate is different from training to be proficient at the language. That said, with NativShark, in upper phase 4, we are going to have a whole bunch of stuff on translation and how to become good at translation for those who want to pursue translation as like a career or something like that. But so I feel like it's training me to listen but not to speak. Let's see. Well, I just mean that I can identify a lot of things now from the NativShark lessons, but when I need to say something that I know, I can't remember what the words is in Japanese. That doesn't have really actually anything to do with training between English to Japanese, honestly. That is usually just not enough context yet for the given word. When you're trying to say something that you know but you can't remember the Japanese, and you're trying to search for like the English and you want to like translate it from English to Japanese in your mind, it's not a bad thing. It's actually part of the learning process. There's this stage where you feel like you know something but you can't connect the two, and the way to get through that stage is actually literally just to keep getting more exposure of the Japanese word itself in different contexts. So right now NativShark gives you a word in context of a lesson, and it might give you a word, that same word but in different context in a vocabulary card, but it doesn't do it enough yet. We need to get more content that shows diverse contexts of the same words, because that is really the thing that will get you past the situation that you're currently feeling, Amnestar. But rest assured, it's an actual legitimate part of the process of learning. When you feel that way, it means that you've made progress. It's like, seriously.
Yeah. And like on that same note, it's important to know that production always lags behind understanding.
Yes, always.
So like I can understand way more Japanese than I can produce.
Yes.
And it's just like part of it. And when you put yourself in positions where you need to speak it, you like, I've surprised myself when I'm just like whip out this Japanese word and I'm like, where did that come from? Right? Like I don't really know how to explain it, and it's hard to it's one of those things where like until someone goes to Japan and is in like an area of Japan where they can't use English to get by, that they start to realize like, oh wow, right, like I actually understand a lot more of what's happening around me than I did or than I thought I would have.
Right.
It's kind of neat. I think like in phase 4 and stuff, once we get into more advanced Japanese being on the platform, people will start to be able to see it in the platform itself without having to go like to Japan.
Certainly. But yeah. Okay, I feel a bit better knowing that's just the way it is. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just, I mean, I don't know how long you've been studying, but NativShark's only been out for like not even 3 months, or about 3 months.
I
That's
have a
definitely
79-day streak though.
Yeah, 79 Street. There you go. So yeah, not even the full 3 months. Yeah, that's actually legitimately, if you started, it's not enough time yet to get to where you'd be past that phase of in between where it's like, I know something but I can't recall it yet. What do I say? It's okay. Definitely stick with it, and absolutely you'll get through it. Yeah, it's just part of the process. Definitely.
One thing. All right. So some of the previous questions, Cell Talks mentioned how far down the priority list are tools for practicing production. I think we kind of answered that. Not super important in the way that those tools look. Might not be what people expect.
Yeah.
But we are talking about it, and it's one of those things where we're figuring out the right way to do it in the way that fits NativShark's teaching style.
Right.
this is kind of a overarching thing, and like we see it with this update, there was some pushback with some of the changes we made. But one of the things that we're doing at NativShark is we're trying to teach Thing in a way that we think other things have failed. And I think it makes sense when you see people coming to NativShark and they're using it because other systems have failed, right? So it doesn't make sense for us to like mimic Anki or just do Anki online because there's other services that do Anki online, things like that.
Right.
Once we have more success stories, I think people will just trust the system. But until then, it's one of those things where like take our word for it.
It genuinely does work over time for sure. But you know, we've only been out for a couple months, so it'll take a little bit. You know, about at least another 3 months or so before the traction really starts. Oh wow, this actually makes a lot of sense, and I've made a ton of progress. But certainly, we are always thinking about the student experience, always, and what is it like to be a student, and what are the things that we as students have done wrong personally, and what are things that I think the students in general kind of accidentally do. Like it seems like common sense or it seems like good advice, but it actually is detrimental to studies. What are those things? And we really look for those things with NativShark, and then we actively design the system to break those bad habits and instill good habits. So that could feel really strange sometimes because it seems intuitive to do, like the English to Japanese thing. Like I was saying, that seems intuitive. It's not a bad idea. I don't think anyone's like dumb for having that idea. I had that idea too. It makes sense, but it actually isn't beneficial long term. So that's why we instead want to focus more on more immersion, more context, more showing the word in different various use cases, just in Japanese, and that is actually the thing that will help you be able to get the recall going. Production tools are the same way. Like just making a multiple choice quiz, which would be easy, doesn't really help with language acquisition at kind of at all. And there's many studies that we can talk about. Someday I will have a nice article on this, and I'll cite all the sources and everything from the educational research on how multiple choice doesn't really help for language acquisition. Because that is our number one goal, is language acquisition, not necessarily language teaching, or even language learning so much as it is language acquisition. So the system is designed to be a language acquisition tool, an acquisition system, which is kind of unique compared to other platforms that exist, and why it's so exciting to work on and kind of like, get our stuff out there. So yeah, it's fun. Cool stuff.
Yeah. Let's see here. There's another talk.
I'm genuinely surprised at my progress in 80 days, so I'm pretty much at the point of trusting you for now. Compared to a friend who just finished a semester of Japanese in higher education, I'm much further ahead. Hey, exactly. Here's the facts. Okay, we've done the comparison, we've run the numbers, we've done the analysis. Phase 1 of NativShark is equivalent to 3 years of university study for Japanese. We cover 3 years or more of university level Japanese in the 5 months it takes to do phase 1 at the 4-year pace. So I'm not surprised that your Japanese is a little bit better than your friend. Convince them to use NativShark. One day we'll get it so that NativShark is accredited and it counts actually, but that'll take a hot minute to get to that level. But we'll do it because it is better, and we want people to be able to actually reach their goals, and it should be fun. It shouldn't be scary, and it's all this kind of thing. Real question: why is university studies so slow? That's actually a really long and involved question, and I actually would love to talk about that because I have a lot of thoughts on it. But ask it next week when I'm on this podcast with Nico, because that's a good question for he and I to talk about, as it's very content and methodology focused rather than more technical, which is kind of what's going on today.
One of the kind of falls into both, so I can answer the technical side of it, and then Nico can talk about the content side of it. Nimtov asked, so I've heard that you might rework some of the phase 1 lessons, like travel lessons. Will you then also rework the content? And how will that affect me as someone who's further along in their studies? Will I get updated vocab, kanji, etc.? So all of phase 1's being reworked. but anyone who is using the current phase 1 will stay on like the old path, I guess, like the 1.0 path. However, you will have the option to go through like the new stuff as well. We aren't exactly sure what that looks like, but you could think of it as maybe like auditing. Like, I don't know if you've ever used what's the website, Coursera? Is that the one where like you can audit courses?
Yep.
And it gives you access to the material, but you don't have to do like assignments and things like that.
Yeah.
So you will be able to see what's in the new phase 1, and then, you know, like, I want to actually learn this. I'm gonna, you know, work through this unit and add these to my review, things like that. Content wise, phase 1 2.0 and the current phase 1 will cover pretty much the same content. It's just structured differently.
Just the order that's different. So if you did the first version of phase 1, and then the rework of phase 1 comes out, you don't need to panic and be like, oh no, do I need to redo all phase 1? No, because the content at the end, like the overall knowledge at the end is like the same. And in any cases that it is not, we will point that out and it'll be surfaced to you, like Jacob was just saying, like you can audit it or whatever. But basically it just makes the student onboarding experience a lot smoother. Namely, the first 30 lessons aren't only travel lessons, basically. Yeah, that's you know, it's not the end of the world right now that it's that way, but I definitely think it's a bit fatiguing currently, and so it'd be nice to get that improved to where it's not only that for the first like 30 lessons. But
yeah,
basically, end result the same. Just to rework, make the things a bit smoother for new students going forward.
Yeah. And we start what if we're in the middle of phase 1? You will likely just continue working through old phase 1.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, we have some cool ideas for basically the system will know what you've learned and know what's in 2.0, right? So theoretically it could just like put you into the 2.0 path wherever you are and then just catch you up on what you missed. Don't want to talk too much about that because that's like
so
down the line and it could
that's
change.
that's a future thing. We don't know for sure how that's all gonna work. Ursula says API when? Go watch the VOD. I'm not answering the question again.
You should have been here earlier.
What can I say?
CSS now supports vertical Japanese text writing modes. Are you going to do any content in vertical text? I haven't seen a website do it yet.
I mean, for sure, sometime. Why not?
Yeah, I have things that I want to do.
Yeah, same. Like in phase 3 with some more long form native, you know, our own native materials, basically some stuff like that that we have in the heads, in the ideas, in the dreams that we want to do. That would be a really good example of when we would use that, you know. So.
Man, there's so much like NativShark native content that I want to make.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like GA making a digital like picture book. That
it's a dream, you know.
Don't quote that. Don't quote that. That's just a dream. not a confirmed thing that's happening.
Yeah. Kurida says, yeah, it felt like getting dumped in the deep end, and then once the travel lessons ran out, it got a lot smoother. Haha. Yeah, basically that's what we're gonna improve for sure, because it does feel a little bit like that. Let's see. I think we could wrap up pretty soon here. We went like 15 minutes past what we were planning on, which is nice. Everyone's been very active, asking lots of great questions. I didn't even get to ask any questions I had for Jacob, so that'll have to be saved for another future stream where we do this again. I do see something that Cinder said, which I'll like to call out. She says, I think that the distinction between teaching and learning acquisition is really important, and an article about it would be helpful. I will do you one better. We will also make a video on it. So not just an article. We'll make a video. And it'll probably be something that we talk about a lot on streams, because it is such an important thing. And something that we really want the overall like language learning education community as a whole. We kind of want to help move it in that direction, away from where it kind of is right now, which is sort of stagnating. So yeah, definitely we'll talk about that more. Absolutely.
Yeah, Nimtov, that was answered earlier. Those still exist. They just kind of become less as you go through the unit. But we'll let the content team know that they are like
they're much loved, and we will put in a note to have them think about the frequency. Maybe there should be a couple more of those sorts of messages, but they definitely still do exist, and they will continue to be written for sure.
Cool. Unless there's any last big questions,
I think we're gonna wrap it up here and hand the stream back to Ty. I think he's still streaming today. But yeah, unless anyone has any final questions, quick sort of lightning round situation, we'll wrap up. We'll wrap up here.
Yeah, and these types of streams will happen more frequently with like me and Caleb, or Caleb and Nico, or Caleb and
definitely. We're going to make it a regular thing that we do. Thanks everyone for coming out. It was fun. Thanks for all the great questions. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna head out. Ty, have a good stream. Have fun. I'm playing Pokemon. If anyone wants to stick around, of course they can, and they can hang out with Ty as he learns the Japanese or whatever. NativShark employee among us stream when thinking face emoji. I don't know. We have to. There has to be like some like incentive. I don't know, like maybe like 100 subs on Twitch. Maybe.
That sounds about right.
Maybe 1,000 NativShark subs in a month. Maybe think about that one. Something like that. Sub goals. Yes. You guys. Those might be the things that get me to play Among Us on stream.
They can't hear you, Ty.
Yeah, my mic should be good now. You should hear me. I'm sorry. I am muted in Discord, but not in
referral system reward. Hey, right spot.
Yeah.
Yo, if you guys have any ideas, by the way, on what you might think would be fun for the referral system, you know, add those on Canny. Come chat in the Discord. Let us know, because we have some ideas, but we'd really like to hear what you guys think might be neat. Something that's like rewarding to the person referring, rewarding to the person who's getting it, that's sustainable for the company, all this kind of stuff. So if you have ideas, come share. All right, I'm gonna head out. Thanks everyone.
Let's go to some of these.
You too. Bye guys. Thanks for the questions.